For 30 years, I lived in a house where I was never allowed to sit down. No one said it out loud. There was no rule written anywhere. But nights like this made it obvious. The table was full. Crystal glasses. Soft music. Guests leaning in, laughing like they belonged to something stable. I moved between them, refilling wine, adjusting plates, stepping around conversations that never slowed for me. "Careful with that," Victor said, not even turning. His hand rested on my younger sister's shoulder. Steady, familiar. "That glass is imported." "I know," I answered, already reaching for the next one. A man across the table gave me a polite smile. The kind people use when they don't need to remember your face. "You must be the house staff." There was a pause, just long enough for someone to correct him. No one did. Victor let out a small laugh, like it made things easier. "She helps around here." "Helps." I set down another plate, stepped back, hands folded without thinking. That posture had been trained into me close enough to serve, far enough to disappear. "My name is Elena," I said, before I could stop myself. "I'm 32. The man blinked. Oh, I thought, that she worked here my sister cut in, smiling. She basically does. A few people laughed, not cruel, just comfortable. I looked at Victor. He didn't return it. Instead, he leaned forward, voice smooth, practiced. "We took her in years ago. She didn't have anywhere else to go. There it was. The version of me they preferred. Which agency handled the adoption, someone asked. A simple question. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Victor answered before the silence could stretch. Private arrangement. Different process back then. Too quick. Too clean." The man nodded, satisfied. I wasn't. I reached for the empty chair at the end of the table. Just a small movement. Victor's eyes lifted. That was enough. I let go. Back to plates. Back to glasses. Back to the version of me that made the room comfortable. And somewhere in the middle of that silence, a thought formed that I couldn't push away. If everything about my place in this house was so normal, why did it feel like a story everyone else already agreed on? This is an original Revenge Pulse story created for reflection, education, and inspiration, and is not based on any specific real person. Government offices have a way of making everything feel official even when something is wrong. Fluorescent lights, clean counters, quiet voices. I slid my documents under the glass. I just need to verify my records. The woman behind the counter didn't react at first. She typed, clicked, took the papers. A few seconds passed. Then she stopped. Not a small pause. A full stop. Her fingers pressed flat against the page, like she was checking if the paper itself made sense. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "My family," I answered. "It's my birth certificate." She turned it slightly, scanning it again. Slower this time. "This format doesn't match any official record." I frowned. "It has to. I've used it my whole life." "I'm not saying it's fake," she replied, choosing each word carefully. "I'm saying it doesn't match anything we've ever issued. Not now, not before." That landed differently. She typed again. Longer this time. "Can you confirm your date of birth?" I did. Her eyes moved between the screen and the paper. Then she leaned back slightly. "There's a discrepancy." "In what way?" "The date on this document doesn't align with the system timeline for records created in that period." I stared at her. "So what does that mean?" "It means I can't validate this. Not incorrect. Not incomplete. Can't validate." I took the papers back. My grip tightened without me noticing. Outside, the air felt louder. I pulled out my phone, searched the registry myself. Name, date, different spellings, nothing. No results. No partial matches. Just empty space where my life was supposed to exist. I called home. Victor answered quickly. "There's an issue with my documents. I said, "They're saying my birth certificate doesn't stop digging into things that don't matter. Too fast. It does matter. They can't verify." "We handled that years ago," he cut in, voice harder now. "You're overcomplicating it." The line went dead. I stood there, phone still in my hand. That was usually where I stopped, where I told myself it wasn't worth pushing. This time, I turned around, went back inside. "I need copies of everything you just saw," I told her. She hesitated, then nodded. Minutes later, I stepped outside again, lifting my phone and taking photos of every page. If the system said I didn't exist, then someone had made that decision long before I ever had a say. The car smelled like coffee and something citrus, like someone had tried to make strangers feel safe. I gave him my address. Sat back. My phone was still in my hand, the photos of my documents sitting there like proof I didn't understand yet. We hadn't even reached the first intersection when I noticed it. The mirror. He kept looking at me. Not quick checks, not distracted glances. He was studying my face. I shifted slightly. "Is something wrong?" He adjusted the mirror instead of answering. "How long have you lived around here? All my life." "With your family?" "Yes." A pause. "What's your last name?" I told him. His grip tightened on the steering wheel for half a second. Small, but real. "Right," he said quietly. The rest of the ride stayed silent, but it wasn't neutral. It felt like he was deciding something. When we pulled up, I reached for the door. "You look like someone I saw years ago." He hesitated, then added, "Missing child poster?" Same eyes. I turned back. "What does that mean?" He shook his head. "Probably nothing. That's not just—" "Be careful," he said. Softer now. Then he drove off before I could ask anything else. Inside, the house felt the same. Same hallway. Same silence. Same version of me waiting. I didn't follow it this time. I went straight to my room, opened my laptop. The search bar blinked. Then I typed "missing children database." Pages filled the screen. Faces, dates, cases. At first, it felt distant. Then the timelines started to line up. Children who disappeared around the years I wouldn't remember. I clicked one case, then another, different names. But the ages matched too closely. I leaned back, staring at the screen. This wasn't a random thought anymore. It was starting to form into something I couldn't ignore. And I didn't know if I wanted to. I wrote them down because I couldn't pretend they weren't real anymore. Not in my head. On paper. Rule 1, I don't sit at the table. Rule 2, I don't speak unless spoken to. Rule 3, I help before anyone asks. I stared at the list. No one had ever said these things to me. Not once. And yet I had followed them for 30 years. That was the part that didn't make sense. That night, I tested it. Dinner was already set when I walked in. I didn't pick up a plate. I didn't move around the table. I pulled out a chair and sat down. The reaction was immediate. Conversation slowed, then stopped. Victor noticed first. He didn't raise his voice, didn't react the way most people would. He just looked at me. "Don't make this uncomfortable." Calm, controlled, heavy. I met his eyes. Or what, for a second. I thought this would finally become clear. A rule. A consequence. Something real. He didn't answer. He looked away. And somehow, that was worse, because the pressure didn't disappear. It shifted. My brother set his fork down. "Can you pass the water?" I didn't move. My sister leaned forward. "Elena." I stayed still. "Why are you acting like this?" she asked. Not worried. Annoyed. Like I was breaking something that wasn't supposed to be questioned. The room held its breath, waiting. No one told me to get up. They didn't need to. I pushed my chair back, stood, reached for the pitcher. The moment I moved, everything reset, Voices returned, glasses touched. The system corrected itself. Later, in the kitchen, I looked at the list again. No one had forced me. No one needed to. Because whatever this was, no one had to tell me what to do. Because the moment I stopped, everyone else did it for him. There were guests again. 2 couples. The kind Victor liked, people who listened when he talked. The table was set better than usual. Candles, clean lines, everything controlled. Which meant I moved faster, quieter, invisible. I brought in the last dish just as he was speaking. We took her in when she had nothing, Victor said, leaning back, relaxed. Gave her a home, stability. One of the guests nodded. That's generous. I set the plate down. Harder than I meant to. That's not how it happened. The words cut straight through the table. Silence. Victor turned slowly. What did you say? I didn't step back. That's not how it happened. A shift in the room. Subtle, but real. Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You should be grateful. For what? For everything, he said, sharper now. For being here at all. I shook my head. That's not an answer. Something in him changed. Not louder. Colder. He placed his glass down with precision. You're not really part of this family. No raised voice, no hesitation. Just a fact, delivered in front of witnesses. The room reacted without moving. Eyes dropped, glasses lifted. No one challenged him. I felt it happening. People adjusting their understanding of me in real time. I didn't move. Say it again, I said. He didn't. Instead, he leaned back, detached. If you're going to make a scene, then leave. I waited. Not for him. For anyone else. No one spoke. No one stopped him. That was the answer. I nodded once. Then I turned and walked out. The door closed softly behind me. No one followed. Outside, the air felt different, clearer. And for the first time, the question wasn't where I belonged. It was why I had ever been kept at all. I stood outside longer than I realized. Long enough for the voices inside to fade. Long enough for the house to stop feeling like mine. A car pulled up. I almost ignored it. Then the window lowered. Do you trust me? I recognized him. The driver. I don't even know you. I said, That's fair. He replied, But I think I know enough. You were on a poster, he said. Years ago. I never forgot the face. I should have walked away. Instead, I opened the door and got in. The lock clicked the moment it shut. Normal. Except he didn't ask where I was going. He just drove. This isn't the way, I said, watching the streets change. I know. I leaned forward. Then, where are you taking me? A pause. Somewhere you can check things for yourself. Stop the car. He didn't. Stop the car. Still nothing. I reached for the handle. It didn't move. I pulled again. Locked. My chest tightened. Unlock the door. If I'm wrong, he said calmly, you walk away when we arrive. That's not. But if I'm right, he added, quieter now, you deserve to know. That landed differently. Not force, not control, something else. I sat back slowly, my hand still near the handle. The city kept moving outside, lights passing, turns I didn't recognize. Neither of us spoke again. When the car slowed, I looked up. The building in front of us was unmistakable. Police station. He parked. I can't prove anything, he said, but they might. I stared at the entrance. Then I tried the door again. This time, it unlocked. The station was quieter than I expected. Not empty, just controlled. I almost turned around twice before reaching the desk. I need help checking something, I said, placing my documents down. The officer glanced at them, then at me. What kind of issue, I think? There might not be a record of me. That got his attention. He studied me for a second, then nodded. Come with me. A smaller room, a second officer, a screen already waiting. They asked basic questions: name, date of birth. Then they started searching. At first, nothing. Just like before. One of them frowned. Try filtering by year range. More typing. A list appeared. Cases, dates, locations. My eyes moved across the screen without stopping. Then they did. A photo. Small. Slightly blurred. A child. 3. Maybe 4. That one, I said, already leaning forward. The image expanded. My breath caught. Not identical, but close enough. The shape of the face. The eyes. Too close. Timeline matches your reported age, one officer said. I barely heard him. I was reading the line beneath the image. Child taken, not lost. What does that mean? It means there was evidence of abduction. My hand found the edge of the desk. There are identifying markers listed, the second officer said. Any scars, birthmarks? I nodded slowly. Left shoulder. Small scar. They checked. It's listed, behind me. The driver shifted. I saw the case years ago. He said, poster at a station. Same face. I wasn't sure. Until today. The room tightened around me. The officer turned back. We can run a DNA test. It's the only way to confirm. I looked at the screen again. At the child. Then at them. Do it. Waiting changes how you remember things. Not because time passes, because your mind starts filling the gaps. By the time they called me back in, I already knew something wasn't right. The officer didn't take long. The DNA matches the missing child's biological records. For a second, I thought about the first night in that house. How they told me I was lucky. How I believed them. I didn't react immediately. The words needed a second to become real. So I'm not. I started. Not adopted, he said. There's no legal adoption record under your name. I nodded. Slow, careful. Your timeline also aligns with the abduction report. He continued. The year you appeared in that household matches the year the child was taken. Appeared. Not brought home. Not adopted. Appeared. There's more, he added, sliding a file toward me. The child had a different name. I looked down, read it once. Then again. It didn't feel like mine. But it didn't feel unfamiliar either, like something just out of reach. I leaned back, my hands pressing against my knees. Pieces started connecting. The way questions were avoided. The way documents were always handled. The way I was kept close but never included. This wasn't distance. It wasn't indifference. It was control. Everything I thought I understood shifted, reframed. I exhaled slowly. If this was true, then my life hadn't just been incomplete. It had been built around a truth no one intended for me to find. They came with me. Not a crowd. Just enough to make the truth harder to ignore. An officer, a folder, and a version of my life that no longer depended on him. Victor opened the door like nothing had changed. Then he saw them. A pause. Small. Controlled. What is this, he asked. They need to ask you a few questions. His gaze slid past me. Dismissive. You shouldn't have brought strangers here. They're not strangers. They are to me. The officer stepped forward. Calm, steady. Sir, we're following up on a missing child case. Victor didn't blink. You've made a mistake. Too fast. They're manipulating you, he said, turning to me. You don't understand what they're doing. What are they doing? Feeding you a story. Turning you against your own family. My own family. We took you in. You had nothing. That line used to work. It didn't even land this time. Then explain the records. I said. Explain why I don't exist anywhere. There are discrepancies in old systems. He replied immediately. Files get lost. Misfiled. You don't understand how this works. Too clean, too rehearsed. Behind him. A shift. That doesn't make sense. One of my siblings said quietly. Victor didn't look at them. It's not your concern. It is. They pushed. Something's always been off. Something cracked. Not loud, but enough. I stepped closer. Say it clearly. I said, "What did you do?" He met my eyes, and this time he didn't look away. For a second, I saw it. Not denial, calculation. You wouldn't have survived out there, he said quietly. The room froze. You don't even remember what you came from, he continued. We gave you a life. There it was. Not a confession, but not a denial either. The officer stepped forward. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Victor didn't resist, but as they moved him, he looked back at me. Not angry, certain, like he still believed he was right. And that was worse than anything he could have admitted. The arrest didn't stay contained. It spread. Reports surfaced. Timelines aligned. Records filled in gaps that had been empty for years. What used to be a controlled story became something public, and it didn't hold. Victor's version clean, simple, practiced collapsed under details he couldn't adjust anymore. People didn't react loudly. They didn't need to. The shift was quieter, final. Inside the house, everything broke faster. Without him holding the structure together, it didn't know how to function. Conversations started. Too late. Questions surfaced that should have been asked years ago, but they didn't come to me the way I expected. Not as apologies, not as answers, just fragments. I stood in the same kitchen, the same place I had spent years moving through without being seen. Now, no one told me what to do. No one asked, either. Victor was brought back once. Procedural. He saw me. Elena. He said, like the name still belonged to him. I didn't move. You don't get to call me your daughter. It came out steady, clean, final. For the first time. He didn't correct me, didn't reframe it. He just looked at me, and there was nothing left to adjust. After that, I went to the sink. The gloves were still there. Same place, same pair. I picked them up, turned them once, then dropped them into the trash. No hesitation. That night, I sat at the table, alone. No movement, no role, no expectation. Just a chair. And time. There was a name in a file somewhere that belonged to me. A family I didn't remember. A past I could go looking for. But I didn't move toward it. Not yet. For the first time. I wasn't being placed into a life. I was choosing one. Somewhere. There was a file with my real name on it. I didn't open it. Not yet. Not every place that calls itself family is safe, and not every story you're given is yours to keep. Walking away doesn't erase the past, but it gives you a chance to choose what comes next. If this story stayed with you, share your thoughts below, and if you've ever faced something similar, your voice might help someone else feel less alone.